Well, the great philosopher Henry David Thoreau once wrote, "It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see." And for anyone paying attention these days, it is clear that many Americans are seeing the world through wildly different perspectives. And it should be abundantly apparent that we have a commander-in-chief whose watch from atop the wall should have ended a long time ago. And yet half the nation excuses the strained speech and the jaundiced gaze of President Biden and pretends he is the man he used to be 20 years ago, that there is nothing wrong with the picture in front of them. It should be obvious that trying to use the executive branch and the legislative branch to fundamentally alter the judicial branch by packing the court and undermining the constitutional authority of our system of checks and balances is not just wrong, it's dangerous. And yet somehow more and more individuals look at these unholy efforts and find ways to justify this flagrant abuse of the spirit of our democracy as an acceptable measure to preserve our republic. It should be crystal clear that attempting to do an end run around the Electoral College by making D.C. a state fundamentally eradicates the founders' intent for us to be a democratic republic free from majority mob rule. And yet increasingly, the same people who preach about equality for all suddenly believe the best remedy for inequality is to vilify anyone who disagrees with them and to explore any and all methods to ignore the perspective of their neighbors completely. Yes, how we choose to see the world matters more today than perhaps ever before, because little by little we inch closer and closer towards wholesale changes to the fundamental tenets of American democracy that have enabled this nation to become a beacon of hope for reliable self-governance. Now, it is easy to remark, as many have, that this left-wing wish list of illiberal governance will never come to fruition, that these are the unrealistic ramblings of a progressive movement that does not interest our moderate-in-chief, President Joe Biden. That's effectively what Nancy Pelosi said when she announced she would not hold a vote for the latest court-packing bill proposal. And yet, such a flippant response asks us to ignore the fact that department by department, appointment by appointment, this alleged moderate-in-chief keeps appointing individuals that have endorsed the very policies the left assures us he has no interest in pursuing. Now, such a response asks us to ignore the fact that a robust group of duly elected Democrats this week alone put pen to paper and drafted bills to eliminate the Electoral College, pack the Supreme Court, and yes, even pay out reparations for slavery. And whether it happens or not, the message is clear. This is no longer a wish list anymore. It is a to-do list. And even the Democrats opposed to these wholesale changes cannot hold off the extremists in their midst for much longer. James Madison famously wrote, "The accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judiciary, in the same hands may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny." Well, don't look now, but Democrats, they have all the power. And not only do they have very little interest in maintaining our checks and balances, they are taking steps to ensure that the world as they see it will be free from oversight ever again. And if Americans start pretending that the power grab we are witnessing is not what we are actually seeing, the tyranny this nation was founded to escape will inevitably come waltzing through our front door.